So just to brief you guys that in today's session we are going to review some of the assignments which we have done, and we are going to clarify those things to see and understand that how conceptually clear you are, and this is exactly what kind of a situation you are going to face on the real time when you are working as a business analyst. So it is very much important that you understand how to explain it. At the same time, the oral and the written communication is a key over here. On top of that, the leadership quality, the planning, how well organized you are, all these things, it's a full package. It's a bundle product for a business analyst. So you need to showcase all these things. You need to participate in the conversation. There could be the possibility one of the stakeholders have put together the small draft, this type of document, or maybe it's just a whiteboard, somebody just laid out the flow. And you need to understand that because you are the one who is going to write the requirement on the basis of the diagram. So it's not always necessary that always you as a BA has to do all these things. Sometimes maybe there is an architecture team or someone involved as part of the team where you are sitting in a room to understand the architecture. So it's very important that you have this level of understanding and you have practiced enough Visio to make sure what other person is explaining, you are able to follow that conversation and you are able to ask right question on right time. Because once the meeting is done, you are your own to write the requirement. So go on, Rito, and explain it all.
Yeah. For the use case thing, unlike the ATM system, where the system has to check the bank's database for the balance amount in the customer's card, in this one, I use the system to be the front desk system of the provider or hospital, and the different databases is going to be eligibility, benefits, claim processing, and finance and sales. So when the primary actor, which is the patient, goes to the provider and produces his insurance card, the first thing the front desk system is going to check for his membership and what are the eligibilities and benefits he has and how much copay he has to pay, what is the deductible and all those stuff. So it doesn't come from one database. There are like, for eligibility and benefit it goes into one thing, for claim it goes into other thing. So I thought all the different databases where the system has to interact will be taken as a secondary actors, A2.
So can you define the primary actor and the secondary actor? By definition, what do you understand? What is primary actor and what is secondary actor?
Primary actor is the one who initiates the process, and secondary actor is the one who's like a support function for the system to verify the process or to go ahead with the process.
So tell me something, where you have the front desk system, right?
Yeah.
This front desk system, I'm just thinking in a different aspect, okay? And think about, I'm a stakeholder, I do not get this particular use case, that's how it is going to work. What is the action which is getting performed over here at the front desk? Because what I see here is the front desk system as a secondary actor. And correct me if I'm wrong, that's my understanding.
Front desk system as
so the primary actor walks into the hospital, right?
Yes.
What action is getting, so use case is always about actor and the action, right?
Yes.
Where is the action? What is the action?
He gives his membership card to check for his eligibility and stuff.
So where exactly that is denoted as part of the use case? You see the gap?
Okay, I get it.
So you need to add what action we are talking here because it's unclear from the use case. And then your front desk system, when the operator starts using the system, that becomes your secondary actor, right? Because now system is doing something, processing something.
Yes.
And then the databases are towards the end because databases are already, it's a single source of truth for all these key information for enrollment, eligibility, claim, finance, all these things. It's an end result. Either you are retrieving the data
Yeah,
or you are saving the data. So
it's incorporated into the
so
system.
operator is the secondary actor, and then operator is performing some functions, which is operator is triggering some actions over the eligibility database, claim database, finance and sales. Right?
Okay.
Are you able to
So
follow me?
operator becomes a secondary actor.
Right. Anyone have any concern on this or want to correct me or Ritu? Anything to add to it?
Yeah. Is it not mandatory the secondary actor has to be an entity?
What? Secondary actor?
Secondary actor has to be an entity or something like that?
Not necessary. What is an actor? Who is going to initiate that? Who is going to trigger the event? Trigger the action. That's what the actor is, right?
Yeah.
So in this
Primary
case,
actor is.
yeah, so in this case, your primary actor, when the patient walks into the hospital or the premises, that patient is the primary actor who is going to initiate the trigger the overall process. Then the secondary actor is the person who is going to start using the trigger the events which are as part of the system, like a search, add, delete, add record. Are you following me?
So then the databases will be considered as?
The databases are an actor, right? How the database will be actor? Database is not triggering any action.
In the same way, in the ATM example, when the system is checking for the balance with the bank's database is not a secondary actor, right?
No, it's not.
Okay. Okay. I think
Is there any confusion
somewhere
over
in the
there?
previous class. No, somewhere in
Right
the
now,
previous class it's been. Oh yeah, go on. Sorry.
now, I thought I had it clear, but now I'm getting confused. So, Sushmita, you're saying the patient is the primary actor, and the front desk operator is the secondary actor, but the secondary actor is doing most of the work on what?
Secondary actor is doing most
Because
of the work.
like the secondary actor is actually checking the databases. So just like in that the PowerPoint you had, the customer opens the account, deposits the funds. So the front desk operator checks the eligibility, files the claim, checks the benefits. So it's that kind of a diagram we should see.
No,
In
but
here?
there I don't have I did not mention that the databases. I have mentioned the actions which will be performed by the primary
Correct.
actor, right?
Correct. So in here what he has done in the instead of the databases column, it should be directly the actions of checking the eligibility, putting the claim.
But in that case also, what will be the secondary actor? It would be the front desk system which will be the secondary actor, right? Because via front desk system, you are checking the eligibility. You go to the eligibility screen, you perform the eligibility check. Then via front desk, you go to the claim and then you perform the claim related work. From front desk system, you go to the finance and do the finance related work, right?
Correct.
So those are again the actions.
Right. But so if we go back to your PowerPoint, the customer was the primary actor,
Right.
and the one on right hand side, open account and everything, those are the actions. So there is no secondary actor.
No, primary actor we are clear. Repeat your question, please.
So if I'm looking at your PowerPoint yesterday and use case diagram, so the customer is primary actor, and the things on right hand side, open account, deposit funds, withdraw funds, and close account, those are his actions.
Right.
So I assumed yesterday that the system is the secondary actor because he's interacting with the system even though he's doing those actions.
Absolutely right. You understood it right. The system which, for example, let's say the person is the person is going to do this via some way. Either he is doing it online, then the system is in between, right? Or he is doing it through ATM, then a system is in between. If he is doing it through some third person working in the bank, then also there is a middle person, right?
Right. So in his case, he's saying primary actor is the patient, and then he should, if he just removes the databases and instead of going one line front desk system to all the databases, if he has from actor directly or through the front desk, if he does these actions, then will that be a right diagram?
Yeah, he just need to take it off that secondary actor thing. That's it.
Okay.
And make it as an action. Replace that with action.
Instead of databases.
Right. Because see, databases are physical object which is going to support the transaction. Right? Your database is not, think about it, you don't have a primary actor, you don't have the secondary actor. Can database alone perform any action? Is it triggering any event?
So it's the primary actor and his or her actions.
Right.
That's what we are looking at. Okay.
Yes. Actor would be who is going to trigger the event or act on it. Right? That is what the actor is all about. Database doesn't have any action of its own.
Correct.
Database is not going to perform eligibility check by its own. You have to have an actor who is going to do that. Whether somebody, let's think about it. Either the front end application is checking the eligibility from database, or you go it from the back end and do it. But either case, someone is triggering that event. Right?
Yes.
That's what the difference between the actor and the action is. Ritul, are you following me?
Yeah, I think the confusion is because in the last week BA class during use case diagrams, in this ATM example, A1 primary actor is the customer and ATM system is the system, and bank database is the A2 secondary actor.
Which database is the secondary
from that
actor?
point, like database is secondary actor versus like bank database.
No, what I am asking is, we did yesterday the use cases, right?
Sorry?
The use case diagram, we did it yesterday, right?
No, it's like, I mean, I wasn't referring to the yesterday's one. Like it was
Okay. No, the bullet point statement is your database will never be an actor. Go and explore any book, read any book, do it research wherever you want. The reason being is your database is just supporting the transaction. Your database standalone cannot trigger any event without the help of the primary or the secondary actor.
Okay.
That is the rule book. So don't get confused with that.
Okay, got it.
Okay?
Yeah.
Are we all on the same page? Good, Ritul. Go on.
Okay. For the activity diagram, I've gone with the same example. The patient.
Ritul, can you speak a little louder? I'm not
sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
Yeah. For the activity diagram, I've gone with the same example where the patient goes and produces his insurance card to check, and each and every activity moves into the flow towards the decision box where the customer's member details are checked. And if there is error something, it goes back to the insurance card check to the first point. If the member details are found, then they go to the next step, which is going to be next activity, which is going to be request for E&B, eligibility and benefits. And once the benefits are obtained, then if the procedure is not covered, then it's informed to the patient, and the process, he might say that, okay, I won't take up the treatment and it will end. If the procedure is covered, then it goes to the other flow and moves on to the activity of paying the copay or something and proceeding to the treatment.
Absolutely right. Anyone have any question or concern on this? Just make sure whenever you use the decision box to add the positive and the negative side. Even though you have written as in the box, that's good. But if you just mark it as yes or no kind of a flow, that just simplifies everything. Okay. Yeah, but if the details of the diagram is right, and I don't see any kind of a gap unless anyone have any issues on this.
I got just a little one question.
Yes.
On you know, it looks really good, but at the where procedure not covered, why do you have a decision box?
After the procedure not covered?
It should be just plain end, right?
No, it's like, for example, when the procedure is not covered, the patient is informed, and that decision box is where the patient, if he wants to know why it is not covered or something, then they again go back to the requesting eligibility or some other details about his membership to give him more details on why it is not covered.
So what's the, so either they give up or they go back. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I mean the process ends where he doesn't take the treatment. Otherwise, he wants to know the reason why it is not covered. Then they go back and check the details for that.
Okay, so here's the thing. Little more addition is not going to harm anyone. So in a simple way, if you need to understand here, see, everyone thought process is different, and I do agree with Mukta as well as Ritu both. So here's the thing. This can go two ways. One way is that, okay, we have a decision box where it says that the procedure not covered. Procedure not covered, the system is showing as procedure not covered, and there could be the possibility that the processor checked and there is something wrong. Okay, think about it. Maybe someone is processing this claim and it says procedure not covered, but they felt that, okay, that is not possible because the procedure is very simple. If the procedure is very simple, then processor may look into the benefit and the eligibility. And if he does, then what happens? If you do look for the eligibility and you realize that, okay, there is something wrong in the eligibility, then what you can do? You update the eligibility, and then again the claim has to go through the same process where it has to check the eligibility and the benefit, and then the claim will go through as a covered benefit. On the other hand, there is another side of looking this particular diagram in a different way, where you can say that, okay, the procedure is not covered, but the patient wants to take the decision. You need to clarify a little bit, but it can go alternate route also, where the patient says that, okay, let's go to eligibility and benefit and check why it is not covered. If not, I am going to pay out of my pocket and then take the services. Then you take it as a covered benefit and proceed with the treatment. Only thing is the final outcome when it comes down, it will be patient out of pocket. So little more addition is not going to harm, but at the same time you need to explain. And as Mukta said, so what we just learned here, the point what I am trying to raise here is, don't pay attention to the diagram being right or wrong. Okay, what we just, the key over here was, the learning over here was where that Ritul is a business analyst, Mukta is a stakeholder, and Mukta did not get that flow is right. So Mukta saying that, okay, see, I see that I represent the eligibility and the benefit area. I don't see this is the right process. So if we go this route, it will be misleading. So I think as a stakeholder, as a subject matter expert from the eligibility and the benefit area, that you should do this. So Ritul has to understand what Mukta is trying to say. and accommodate that because Mukta is a stakeholder. If Ritul is in disagreement with that and what Mukta is saying does not make any sense, then Ritul can counter back to say that, Mukta, can you elaborate on this, because I am not sure I am following you, what you are trying to explain. Now Mukta has to stand up and explain. Maybe now there are two ways it can go. Either Mukta can explain it pretty well so that Ritul gets it, or during the time of explanation, Mukta realized what Ritul have done is right. And this was the whole idea why I wanted this assignment to be explored in such a way so that you get the real-time experience. Because when you go on job, no one is going to teach you all these things. You will be your own. So it's very much important that you are exposed to all these type of meetings where people will be sitting in the room, someone will be over the phone, all these type of conversation are going to happen, and that is the moment you are going to get the leadership to do all these things and better plan it. So that was the whole idea. So now you guys would have learned that how this is going to be in the real-time situation, right? Ritu?
Yeah, yes.
So you got the concept, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so there are multiple ways to complete this, and you can take the suggestions, make the enhancements at the same time. If there is something which you need to add and suggest to the user group, the stakeholders, you should be doing that. Sitting quietly and just observing the situation is not going to help you. Okay, go on. Good job, guys.
Yeah, the next one is the sequence diagram where I've used, there should be multiple parties, multiple entities. So I've taken the databases and used them along with the front desk system. And,
so in this diagram, calling out the databases separately is the exactly right thing to do it. I just added that. Go on, Ritu.
Okay.
Can you read little louder so that I can hear it, because I'm barely able to see the boxes which you have?
Oh, okay.
Much better. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. So when the patient goes and checks with his insurance card, it goes through, the checks are done with different databases. That's where the multiple parties come into one frame. So each and every action or a sequence checks for one unique aspect of the membership. For example, the ENB will check for his benefit databases and send the info back. And the claim thing would check for the status of pending claims, of the claims paid before, and those things, and send it back. And the finance would say about his co-payment, co-insurance, and the deductible, those info. And finally, the sales will tell you about his approvals and non-approved things. So they all go back in sequence to the front desk system where the patient is expecting information on all these database infos.
Okay. Any question from the audience? Or I should say from the stakeholders of this project?
It's me again.
Question, concerns?
Yeah.
Everything welcome.
So this, the data, all the databases and everything, the flow going to the databases looks right, but should say if it goes to the eligibility database and the first, it sends the information back. If it goes to claims database, should it go to the eligibility database, or should it directly go to the front desk system to say this was the claim, this is what it did?
No, they directly go back. They are interlinked arrows. It's just like I didn't strike it through completely so that these intermediate sections are easily seen. That's why I didn't put a straight arrow like saying that it all goes back to the front desk system.
Okay, but they, in your mind they are going, everything flows back to the front desk. Okay. Yeah.
The output is obtained only in the front desk system. This is the internal sequences happening.
So how far did we go? So you don't have the consensus, right?
Sorry, you were talking to me.
No, I'm talking to both of you.
So
I'm
my thing, I was thinking if everything, everything should start from front desk and go to the database line. There should be an answer, and then there should be a straight line from front desk to claims, and then claims gets back to the front desk, and finance and gets back to the front desk. So there should be, to me, looking at this diagram, it looks like front desk requests eligibility database, which requests claim database, which requests finance, and that in turn requests the sales. And then sales request.
It's because they are not direct arrows, they are interlinked arrows. That's why that confusion is. But I mean, in a Visio flowchart or something, a direct arrow would be there. Like I thought it will be more of a, if I could strike it through and then write something on it, then it wouldn't be visible. So I thought while explaining, I would tell it's like a direct arrow, but interlinked with these sequences.
Right.
Guys, whoever is typing off, do not type it. I want the conversation to happen. Okay, I want this to get into a discussion mode. Okay, so Lily, I would like you to add to it. The point which you are making, add to it. Be vocal.
I typed my question here. I think it just got answered.
Okay. So coming back to, so are we good with the diagram? We have the consensus from the entire team?
I think so. I mean, when he explained, I mean, what he has in mind, then it makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, as a stakeholder, I approve that.
Okay. Well done, Ritu. Well done. Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, so this is very much important that the diagram which you are representing, you as a business analyst who have created that, you get the consensus of the audience when you walk out of the meeting. If there are some revisions which needs to be made, then you go back, make the revision, send it out. If it is just the, I would say 60-degree change, then you may have to take it back for the review. If not, if there are minor changes, then you can get the consensus over the during the meeting to say that, okay, I will make the amendments and send it across via email. If you have any concern, do let me know, and if we need to do another review meeting. If not, please provide your approval via email, so that you know that do you need to take this for another review, or you are good, but just you need to do the final updates to the document, make the corrections, and then send it across. So that way you would avoid lot of going back and forth. Because let me tell you, when you start working,
and generally after the generally after the meeting, these meeting updates and reviews have to be recorded, right?
No, see, all these things are very bookish thing. Okay, the meeting minutes and your recording and all those things are very bookish thing. It generally doesn't happen in every organization. So if the company is very process oriented, then you will find all these things. If not, it's just on fly. Okay, so the good practice, see, there is a good practice and there is a general practice. So you want to follow the good practice, then you can do it. But not necessarily everywhere you will have time to do that, or you will have the opportunity to do that. When I say you will have time, that means it seems like that, okay, what I'm just doing the business requirement document, I will have a lot of time, but that's not the case. When you start getting the work, when you start analyzing it, you will realize how much time you are losing. And just to chase people, just to get the approval, all these things, you cannot even justify that, okay, this took this much of time. So it's very much important when you walk out of the meeting, get all these things clarified to make sure you can
Okay.
save some time on all these meetings, because coordinating meeting with too many stakeholders is the another challenge which anyone faces at the time of a project as a business analyst. It's very difficult to accommodate everyone's calendar at the same time, same day. It's very much difficult.
Okay.
So considering all these things, how much you can avoid, and if that can be done via email or something, then you should try to do it. But if not, if it is required, it is mandatory, then you have to take it back and redo it. Okay, go on.
Okay. Yeah. And the final thing is state chart methodology, and using the same example. I'm not pretty sure about this one, but I did go through with whatever understanding I had from the previous class. Initially, the system is at an idle state, and when the patient produces the card and stuff, that's where the initiation happens. And then when the member status is checked, it goes into those two different states where the normal exit and the abnormal one comes in, where if the member is valid and is an active member of the whichever health insurance he has, then it goes to the providing details of eligibility and stuff, and pay the co-op, and it goes to the end process. But if he's not an active member, it's expired, or the membership is on hold, some kind of some blockage has been put by the company or something like that, then it goes to the abnormal exit.
Okay, what are the consensus we have from our subject matter experts? Let's hear it out. Go ahead, folks.
Well, I'm not sure about the process either. So who is the main actor? The system?
In the state chart diagram, you don't have to denote the actor or anything like that. In the state chart, you just need to show what the process is going through for each and every state. What are the different states the process will go through? So for example, okay,
I
let's
put
first
the
hear out
patient.
others.
Okay.
Go on, Ritul, whatever you are saying.
I put the patient there because he is the one who is initiating the process, and then the different states which happens as a reaction to these processes. Initially, it's idle, and patient initiates the process, and then it becomes the state changes from idle initial to the intermediate, and then it moves on. So the reason for me to put the patient keyword there is to denote that he's initiating the process, and not, I didn't specify him as a actor there.
Yeah, in the state chart, you don't need to denote the actor.
You don't need to specify actor. That's why
Yeah,
I like.
yeah. In state
So
chart, you need to showcase the action, any exit point, which is your final state. Exit point is your final state, whether it is abnormal or normal. And then you have the events, which you need to showcase that, okay, after what event the state is achieved. So tell me something here.
Sorry.
Go on, go on.
I have a question. So the confirm treatment, that's the action between providing eligibility benefit details to pay co-op? Because it's kind of looking as a branch.
It's an event.
Yeah. So the confirm treatment is the action between these two states, right?
No, it's an event.
It's an event?
Yeah. Action is the one when it moves from after checking the member status, when they provide the eligibility details and stuff, benefits, then the patient comes to know that procedure is covered or something, then he confirms the treatment and goes ahead with the payment. And when he goes ahead with the payment, that's where the event follows into the other state.
Okay,
Right. So
I think he means instead of confirm treatment, it means treatment approved.
right, means that's what happened, what link between the
Right,
two
right. I
states.
think it
Yeah,
treatment approved might, right, Ritu?
Yeah.
That
So then what's the action to lead from idle to check member status? Like how you come from
Sorry?
idle to check member status? So you have like a hospital people to welcome you, or patient ask for a form, or
No,
No, so it's not a
I mean
it's
in
not a
state
flow
chart,
diagram.
like
Yeah.
you in state chart, we denote the process initiated and the different states which the system would go through in order to go with the process. So when the patient initiates the process, the system is idle. That's the initial state, and then it moves
okay.
to the intermediate state, and then it goes on. So I think, from my understanding, I believe that in state chart you go with the process and state. The entire flow should be with respect to these two things.
But we just been told that you need to show the action, like how one state lead to the other, or it just like naturally flow to the other.
Okay, can I
I
just
think I'm
jump in?
Yeah, I'm confused a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay,
please.
don't be. So here's the thing. Why the state is idle in the beginning? Because before the member reaches the counter, there is nothing which is happening for this process, for this particular patient. The process is
Okay.
idle for this patient. So that is the initial state. Maybe he is standing in the queue, he is on his way or anything like that. So for this patient, the process is idle at given point of time.
Okay.
The process is the intermediate process, because when he arrived to the counter and the patient is asked to provide the member uh, ID card or something like that, right? So
Yes.
then the action over here is that the action is the providing your ID card, and then you reaches the intermediate status where you have that, okay, the member status validated. See,
Okay.
it's very much important how you phrase it, because when you say, pay attention to what I am saying, when you are saying check member status, that is a process you are talking about. When you say member status checked, that is the state. But when it is in progress, that is not a state. So even though you try to denote the state over here, but your verbiage says that the process is in progress. Are you following me?
Okay, get it.
So it says check member status. You are instructing the system to do that, but it's not yet done. It's progress. It's processing the data. So that is an action. That is a process. That cannot be the state. If you say that member status validated, then it is a state.
So that means if in the box the state say member status checked, that means the action between idle and that state is checking member status.
Right.
Okay, so that all makes sense to me.
Makes sense? Then following that route, you have the provide eligibility and benefit details. Is it a process or is it a action? Is it a process or is it a state?
Needs to be a state, but now it's a
State. But, yeah, and because of the phrase.
Because of the phrase, it becomes more from the process perspective, right? See, it's not just you folks.
Process one. Yeah.
Most of the students, this is where, and that this is the reason why I asked them to come back with your own examples. Because then you will apply your thought process, and this is exactly they get confused between the process and the state.
So you're saying the box should have a process.
The box should have the state. Your process is your action, right? Your process is your action.
It should be like eligibility and benefits checked.
Checked, yes.
But I'm looking at this the PowerPoint yesterday, and it says in the box it says send order request. So that's a process.
So it's done, right?
No, send order request is order request sent is a job done. But
it says send or it says send?
It says send order request, so that means do it. right?
Do it, right? It's not
So
saying,
that's,
no, pay attention. It's not saying sending order request. It's not saying that, right? If you are saying sending order request, that is you are still in the process.
but
So here is the thing, okay? Think about you are a manager and you need to sign a form before it goes to the shipment department or to the ordering department. So you sign that form and say that, okay, send order request, done. So what is that? That is a physical state, right? You are into that where the approval is received. And then it goes to the ordering department where they take that approval and run with it. Think out of the box. Okay. Now you tell me, is it a process, the box which I have given, is it a process or is it a state? What is the physical state at that point of time?
So in my mind, I think the state chart is just how to connect all of the checkpoints, like a 1 point checked. So it's a checkpoint, so it means it's a none instead of a simple.
See, when you perform something, I'll try to simplify this, okay? When you do something, you get some outcome. And that outcome is your state. For that, doesn't matter whether that is for the millisecond or that is for the hour. But for that given point of time, that is the state what the process is in right now. Mukta? See guys, if you are not getting it, you
yes,
need to speak
yes.
up. Okay?
To me, in his box, if it says member status checked, then it's the state. Or in yesterday's diagram, if it says order request sent, then it's a done thing. It's done and the system is waiting. Like, I mean, it's in that state when it has already sent the order. Or in his case, the member status checked. And then it can be either a normal exit or abnormal exit.
See, normal and abnormal exit I'm not worried about because conceptually
but
you have got it. Okay, so conceptually
right,
you have got it.
I think so.
It's just
I think so.
the difference we need to understand in overall diagram, that what can be called out as a process and what can be treated as a state. Okay.
Right.
So your verbiage, and that's why we call it as that in a business analyst world, your communication and your writing skills plays a very big role, and it always has to be close-ended. When I say closed-ended means I'm talking whatever you say, I should get the same idea from your requirement what you have written. What I am trying to explain, you should get exactly what I am trying to explain. It should not be open-ended requirement. Okay, so when we are discussing this, and this is the state chart diagram review which we are doing it, we need all of us to be on the same page to make sure what we can categorize as a process, what we can categorize as a state. But here's the catch. It's not necessarily, think about it, if I am the stakeholder, if I say that this check member status is a status, is a state, and I'll tell you how that becomes a state. Think about that I am the person who handles the member area. Now the claim is received, the patient walks in, and after the initial state, the system sends out the request to the member area, which is my area. So let's assume we have different department representing. Let's say Lily represents the admin area. Patient walks into the customer service and reaches the admin area, which is the intermediate state. The system sends out the alert to my department, which is the member area, to say check the member status. Okay, if that happens, then what? Check member status becomes what? Is it a process or a state?
State.
It's a state, right? So don't fix yourself with the example which is coming. Try to think it through the requirement perspective, that what kind of a requirement the user has given. In the given example, this could become a state, this could become a process, depending upon how you are handling the requirement, how the system is functioning. It can be a checking member status if system is performing it right now at given point of time. But it could become a state if that system generated the alert for the another department and awaiting the response from that department to give the clearance that okay, the member have the eligibility or not. I'm trying to make you guys, that's why I keep saying think out of the box, means try to think it through, that what are the possible ways the requirement could be. So now tell me who disagrees that it could be a process, it could be a state, both, depending upon the situation, depending upon the requirement.
No, agreed.
Agreed?
True.
All are on the same page?
Yeah.
Yes.
So now the following question is, are you all clear on that, okay, what the state chart could be and what could be the activity or the sequence diagram? You guys got it. Activity and the state, most of the time the candidates do get confused on that. So are you guys clear on what could be the activity and what could be your state and what is treated as action? It all comes down to your requirement. The key is your requirement. How do you read your requirement? How do you relate your requirement with the diagram? It all comes down to that. So we are good with this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so what is the opinion from the stakeholders? Approved?
Approved.
Yes.
Okay, well done, Ritu.
Good job.
Thank you.
Bingo, you got it. Okay, thanks. This session facilitated the real-time JAD. That's what it is. This is exactly, it will be facilitated. This is exactly how the BA will represent. This is exactly how the BA is going to work on the business requirement document, whether it comes down to just the simple flow chart or any logical diagram. Anyone have any other question? Or anyone would like to represent the work? Okay. So, this is the chapter where we are going to talk about